What I'm about to share with you is a download that I just received. What's a download? Epiphanies, great ideas. When you go into a space of clarity, you get downloads. And if they're inspirational and positive, that is you connecting to the quantum field. And I just got a very important one. I'm going to talk to you about the difference between the matrix and knowing if you're in it, or if you are connecting to that quantum field where all things are possible, where miracles lie. I know because my Miracle Circle group, we create miracles in that space. How is that possible? And what happens when we're in the matrix? How are we affected by it? I'm going to tell you the difference, and you can start to shift out of the matrix, past that veil that is thinning now, and go into that quantum field where everything is possible. You're going to love this. Let's go. Welcome to sunny Florida. I'm Landria Onkka, and welcome to my YouTube channel, here to help you break through fears, live an amazing life. My whole quest, my whole mission in life is to raise the frequency of the planet one light being at a time. Every video that I shoot has that goal in mind, but it's always your choice, because we live on a planet of free will where you have to just let things play out, because everyone has their own path, their own teachings, their own evolution. And some of the things you see out there that seem very bad and wrong are certain souls, certain groups of energy fields playing out things that they want to experience. I want you to always remember that, because we're going to talk about the difference between the matrix, being in it, not even recognizing you are, and going into the quantum field. What is that? Everything is the quantum field, but the matrix is a self-created reality for us to experience things that are very dense and different from what our origins are. The singularity of the one, which is all-knowing, all light, all love. We're into a space that allows us to know the contrast of that, so that we can know ourselves and know how great it is. Yeah, if you always saw blue, if everything was blue, you wouldn't know what blue was, right? Until you saw green and red and you said, wow, so wait a minute, what have I been looking at? You've been looking at blue. Okay, now we're going to talk about that, because the matrix is a grid. The quantum field is a free-flowing nothingness and everything that exists in all probabilities, in every shape, form, expression. There are no real rules to it other than it is expansive. It's never static, because it is always expanding, creating, evolving, transitioning. That's what we are. We're bodies that transition into other forms. We are the light that animates the body. So we, as in humans, are the bodies that are animated by our light source of love, unconditional, amazing, knowing of everything, because you are part of one. It is all connected. The quantum field proves this. Now let's talk about this, because this is really deep stuff. So I'm going to give you a small bite of what we're going to go into with more videos. Everything's connected. That means nothing stands alone or operates on its own without affecting everything. Not just the people on earth, but everything. All right? That's why you're so important. All the decisions you make are your personal experience, experiencing what you believe is separate. And we have to believe that in this matrix to think that we're separate and that I am the experience, yet you really aren't. You're just one thing happening. Now, a download that I got a few years ago when I was a super crazy awakened state, you know, where you're up here, you're not even in your body most of the time. I was told everything is one thing happening. Not one thing with a bunch of things happening at the same time. It's one thing happening. Okay? Not separate things. The second thing I was told is there's no such thing as time. It doesn't exist. So what is that? It's fabricated by us. We are in such a state of unlimited capabilities that we can create linear time, limitations, pain. We can create anything, and that's what we're doing here. This is the master school. Don't fear it. Don't battle it. Don't struggle. Things shouldn't be this way. They're exactly the way they should be. We came here to experience it. Let go of that. The matrix says this is how things are. So let's talk about the grid. The matrix is a grid. It's a box, right? It boxes you in. The holographic universe is a matrix that we are in order to believe that this is real. That veil is thinning. In other words, the matrix is dissolving a bit because we are now penetrating it and going into that space of the quantum field where we know what we are. So in other words, we're seeing past it, and all of a sudden that reality that we created is starting to dissolve because we don't believe it anymore. And the quantum field says, what you focus on, you create. That's why your reality is going to be different than mine. If you are watching the news and complaining about the politics and all the garbage, that's your reality. It will not be mine because you're focusing on that in the quantum field. Therefore, that wave becomes a particle. It's much more complex than that, but a wave is a probability. A particle is when it becomes real in our material world, as real as it can possibly be. It appears to be real for us because we're actually creating through focus, and that's it. A belief and a thought is creating. And when you let go and you realize you don't have any real box to be in or thoughts or beliefs that you have to be attached to, you go into the creative, unbelievable, geometric, mathematical, everything that it is and everything that it is nothingness quantum field that connects you to everything and starts to bring abundance and health and love and joy and all these amazing things that we are really the essence of. Because now you're not operating from the grid of the matrix. The grid of the matrix names things. It names things. It categorizes things. It separates things. It judges things. Boom, boom. You are this. I've had so many of you say, I have PTSD, what do I do about it? And I said, you're naming it. Stop naming it. But I have the symptoms. That doesn't mean anything. It's just a human construct that now has you focusing on me having PTSD. Now I am that. And thus you become it. And I have those symptoms. Did you know that you could get out of them like that? By saying, I don't really believe that anymore. Because PTSD, you know, this is a whole energy field thing. It's an energy that was created from trauma, all these other things that create this thing that you've hung on to in the matrix, right? The matrix. So you're in this net, so to speak, this grid, and you've named it. And now you've got this little thing stuck in the net right here. I'm that. I'm PTSD. Yeah, that's me. It describes me. Bullpucky. Spiritual butt kick, I'm sorry. Yeah, we have pain and coughing and sneezing and flus and we have all kinds of things, and we like to name them because guess what? That grid out there that tells you a pill's going to get rid of that likes to name that and tell you what you are and that you're sick and that you're this and that you're this. And then if you take those pills, it's going to cause these other things to go on that are also a problem. And then you take another pill to get rid of that and pretty soon you're dead. By the way, that's how my dad died. He had pain in his hip from an operation. He was taking so many pharmaceuticals because he couldn't get rid of the pain, and nobody stopped that. In fact, they kept giving him more and more, and unbeknownst to any of us, my dad, he doesn't drink, he doesn't do anything right, unbeknownst to us, he took so many of them because he kept getting immune to them, so he'd take more. We have a high tolerance for that anyways in my family. So he drilled a hole in his stomach through taking them. His stomach was bleeding. Well, you know what happens when you lose blood internally? You go into cardiac arrest. Guess what it said on his death certificate? Cardiac arrest. That's not what he died of. My dad died of taking too many pharmaceuticals, pills that were masking the pain. That's not a solution. It's never a solution. There was no end to that. There was a dead-end matrix. He was never going to get out of that net as long as he lived in that world, right? Because pain, more, this is what you are, whatever. There was no opening into that quantum field that says there's a probability out there that could be so out there. But we as humans, we like to stay here. There are aliens. Oh, you're cray-cray. Anybody who limits any kind of thinking, and I'm not saying you have to believe everything. That's your own personal free will too, is to believe what you want. But if you judge anybody or anything else, if they tell you they saw fairies, they darn well saw fairies. It's okay. Just because you can't see the fairies doesn't mean they don't see the fairies. A lot of you are seeing light sprints. You know, they're beautiful. You're only going into this is not scary, weird stuff as human beings like, oh, there's weirdness, there's ghosts and stuff. Hello. There is a world out there so beyond our imagination that you are. Now come from, you are it. And you are it right now. It's not something you have to go to. It's right here. What you're experiencing here with limitations is what's false. We chose it. Big game, right? Woo-wee! Put on your seatbelt. So here's what you're going to do. Ask yourself, are you naming other people? Are you taking sides? Separation. You know I talk about this probably every time. Separation, number one, lowest density frame of thinking. I'm separate, somebody's wrong. But what about the people that do this? What about the people that judge those people? That is not a solution. Compassion and love for those who do the worst things is our test. Christ said that. Even if you're not a Christian, you know better. And that's the grid. The grid says right, wrong, good, bad, and it holds you in that net. And when you realize, wait a minute, there's no such thing as good or bad, because we all come from the same source, which means everything we're doing is a choice. And because we're from unconditional, amazing love beyond human comprehension, love doesn't describe it. It's so amazing. If you've experienced it, you know what I'm talking about. It's mind-blowing. So what happens is that when you go into this grid and you are not connecting to that, you will see everything as a struggle, wrong, pain, not supposed to be, and you see no purpose in it. The toughest thing that we have to do right now is understand that there is absolute purpose in everything. God doesn't make mistakes, and you are that power. And it is you, and you're the expression of it, and you get to make all kinds of choices. And when you get out of this matrix grid and you break through it, you'll be mind blown. Oh, wow. And then you'll start to see things that won't frighten you. Now, I want to let you know that if you do have a little bit of fear, we're still in a dense world that never goes away, all right? That's why I always say breakthrough fear. Those of you who've taken breakthrough fear, you've had your minds blown and done unbelievable things. Why? Because you're going past the naming and the separation that says this is evil. You're realizing if we're all one thing, then how can that be? How can I be afraid of something that I am? It's another expression of me. It has no power over me unless I play with that. If I interact with that and I go into that quantum field and I connect to it, I'm entangled, and yes, we play the game of good and evil. No such thing. Doesn't exist. Except for in the Matrix. And that's why we're here. We can create that. So you have to say to yourself, all right, even if I feel fear, am I going to react to it? Do I have to believe it? No, because I'm in a matrix where I know what that feels like, but now I don't have to believe it anymore. And then you start to break through the veil, and then guess what? Instantaneous, spontaneous healing, spontaneous awakening, all these things. And when I say spontaneous, it's never really spontaneous, because it could be years of suffering. Spontaneous, you've been suffering for 30 years, of abuse and struggle and depression and all these things. All those are created. They're names. They're categories. And if you say PTSD, what is that? That's a frame of mind. It's not PTSD. We're in a category of no, I am a healthy, perfect miracle. And when I know that, all those things will fall away. I'm not that. And if you keep naming yourself and saying, I'm this, I'm that, you're telling yourself a story that you might be attached to. A lot of people, they associate with being sick. It's an identity for them. And maybe you need to do that for a while to experience it. It's like, wow, this is cool. What's it like to be handicapped or disabled or whatever? I get to experience that, because that's not what you are. And when you leave your body, you're going to go into something so freaking amazing. You know, you'll realize, wow, I got to experience limitations, perceived limitations. We're starting to break through into something so amazing. If you're not experiencing that, it's a choice. You are not separate from anybody else who's awakened. They just chose to give up the names, the categories, the good, the bad, the fights, the struggle, striving to create something. You don't need to. I'm working with several students right now, and I tell them, when you let go of trying to create abundance, you'll realize you are it. And so trying to create something is a message to the universe that I am not that, and that I don't have it, and that I have to get it somewhere. And that's why I don't like the term law of attraction, because it's a law that you attract something, and I don't believe that at all. I believe we misinterpreted that. Law of attraction, we are into quantum physics now. We're past that. That was 100 years ago. That was a term that was coined. Because people started to realize, wait a minute, there's a connection between what I think and what's showing up. Quantum physics, now we know what it is, it's real. And so we are not having to attract anything. I'm it. I believe it, I am it. But most of you aren't doing this because you don't believe it. The other thing too is, if you desire something, and we'll go into a whole video on this, if you desire something and you're not receiving it, it's because you don't know what it's like to be rich or well or all these things. So you're trying to imagine something that you can't even comprehend. So be okay with getting there and learn how to be wealthy. You may not like it so much. Trust me, it's a lot of work. You might not, know what it's like to be wealthy and never have to worry about things. And you may not also know how much work and stress it is, and how much it doesn't really make you happy. And if you want to get to that, that's fine. But be willing to evolve into that. And then you'll know what a wealthy person, the kind that you want to be, what they experience, and then you'll know. If you get broke again, that's why people have a lot of money. They get it back. Why? Because they already know what it's like to be wealthy. If they want to go back there, they get the money back right away, because wealth doesn't frighten them anymore. They know what it feels like, so they can envision it, go into it. If you don't know and you want to win the lottery and you're sitting there, getting a little scratch ticket, you can't comprehend that. So you have to go into that state of being, and that means you have to break through the matrix that tells you that what you see is real. Limited is what it is. Self-perceived. This is the matrix, and we're going into the quantum field without the boundaries of the matrix. So we're living in between two. In other words, we have a dense world that we will experience. We get to learn from it. You're going to play this out to the day you transition to your next adventure. You're going to play it out. You chose it. So take it on. Don't avoid the challenges. Don't avoid the lessons. You came here for that, and we stop struggling with it and you accept it. It dissolves because you got it. Yay! A+. 4 point. Whatever you do in your country, the best grade ever. You got it. It's not something to achieve. You experienced it. Next. What do you want to do next? And you get to do next whatever you want. There's certain things that were put in place that you chose before you came here that you got to play out. And you get to make different choices along the way. It's not set in stone. And then there are other things that are going to show up. And if you don't want to follow through with something, you don't have to. Depends on what you planned for your little play before you got here. And no one will know that. You probably won't even know it, because if we had all the answers, we couldn't play the game. Are you categorizing? Are you in this? But, no buts on my channel. I'm not a but girl. Yeah? I'm an unlimited quantum field miracle space. Come join the Miracle Circle. It's $29.95 of an entire month of training of the master key system. What is that? We've got to get out of the matrix and go into that field where all things are possible. I train you that step by step by step. And then we have a 1 to 2 hour session every month, live. And we create a circle of light. And you can do this, but we do it with numbers. So the more people that we have, the better. It only takes about 8 to be super effective. We create a miracle circle. I train you for about 30 minutes, and then we create a circle of light. And we close the circle, then we expand it out. We put the planet Earth in the middle of it. We send it light and love. We place our desires in there, and everybody knows it is done. And people are reporting unbelievable things. All right? Why? Because we have that reinforcement that, guess what? We are miracles. We're always in the miracle space. We're just seeing it through a grid of, I can't. Mommy and Daddy abused me. That was wrong. This situation should never happen. I have this affliction. I have that affliction. I'm not pretty enough or tall enough or handsome enough or smart enough. Yeah, in here you aren't. But out here, what you really are is anything you want to be. Are you ready to go there? It's happening right now. Come join me. Come on over to LandriaOnkka.com. If you're interested in the spiritual teachings, I have amazing stuff. I've got new courses coming out. You're going to love them. One is called Total Clarity, because most people don't even know what they want to start to manifest it. So if you don't know, the universe doesn't know. It's not separate from you. We're going to explore all of that. Free video series called Manifest Anything. We tap into our power, we break through the fears, and then we activate our magic, because you have magic. You are magic. If you don't believe that, okay. It's your choice. But I know that about you. And if you want to join me in that unlimited space, we can do amazing, amazing things. And I'm counting on you raising your frequency, because that's why you came here. And enjoy the material world. It's beautiful. There are no bad things to experience, but when you're in high frequency, you won't go into that space. You're going to have love and money and health and all these things. You're going to share it, and you're going to teach other people. You're going to bring them into that circle of amazing opportunities and probabilities. Those of you who want to go into business for yourself, that's how I've created all of this. I got trained by amazing people. They've been in this business for 15 years, this company has. I'm actually one of the contract coaches here as of this video. And guess what? Highly spiritual group of people doing amazing things. We have, we were just talking to a pilot and a horse whisperer and a shaman and people that are doing e-commerce and stuff. And that training will help you to create that. What are you afraid of? Are you going to name it, judge it? Go ahead. Limit yourself. We're all off doing amazing things. You get to choose. So this is a free video series that just tells you what it's about. You know, how do people make money online? How do they go into a space doing what they love, creating freedom? Start going after things. No more naming, judging. If you don't like something, don't do it. It's that simple. Get off your soapbox. Shut your pie hole. All right, spiritual butt kick. Hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to go out to the pool right on the ocean. Yeah, I'm here now. You can probably see my mess back there of boxes. So, I'm sending you blessings because you're whole and perfect, strong and powerful, loving, harmonious, and happy. If you only knew what you were. But then you wouldn't get to play the game. You ready to go to the Great Awakening? The Great Reset? It's not what other people call it. The Great Reset for me is we're resetting back into what we should have been here but chose not to do. And now we're going to go back to heaven on earth. We can create it. Yeah, it's going to take linear time, but that's fun. It's a journey that we can all enjoy together. See the world differently, my friend, because it is beautiful, and so are you. Namaste.